Is your audio and all clear?
Very clear.
Okay, great.
So, all right. Good evening and very warm welcome to all of you in our sixth session from Mayhem to Momentum, leveraging effective storytelling to win consumers and grow. So, we have Mr. Vishal Rupani with us, who will be the moderating the session, who is the co-founder and CEO of M Canvas. We also have Ms. Darshana Shah, Senior Vice President Marketing and Digital, Aditya Birla Health Insurance. Mr. Sukpt Singh, Corporate Head, Marketing, Dish TV and Watcho, and Mr. Achint Setia, Vice President, Marketing, Mintra. So I will ask Mr. Rupani to take it over.
Great. Thank you, Tanmay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad so many of you could join us on a Saturday, and thank you to CII for providing me with an escape route from doing some Bartan Jharu Pocha, though my wife has threatened to switch off the Wi-Fi if I don't finish on time. But on a serious note, again, thank you, CII, for bringing us together. Because this is this esteemed panel does not really need an introduction, I'll really keep it brief for all, starting in the alphabetical order with Achint Setia. So Achint is the Vice President, Head of Marketing at Mintra, where he looks after brand, content, loyalty program, and digital marketing. In his career of over 15 years, he's had rich experience across commerce, media, management, consulting, and software development. He's a big space and sci-fi enthusiast and loves spending and learning and playtime with his daughters. Next, we have Darshana. Darshana is Head of Marketing and Digital at Aditya Birla Health Insurance. As the customer custodian, her mandate covers experience management for all customer and distributor-facing assets of Aditya Birla, including digital adoption. Overall, Darshana has 21 plus years of experience in marketing, brand and communication, and has worked with organizations such as Hypercity Retail, Reliance Retail, Future Group, and Shopper Stop. She loves beaches, and if not at work, she's traveling to some new countries as she has a long bucket list and loves meeting people from different cultures. Next, we have Sukpt Singh. So Sukpt spearheads marketing, customer engagement, digital and innovations for Dish TV and its latest OTT video streaming platform, Watcho. In the last 20 years, he has donned multiple hats, leading business teams, heading marketing, sales, and innovation functions in the FMCG, consumer durables, media, and entertainment space. He has worked with companies like Dabur, Gillette, Whirlpool, Nerolac, and Samsung in various markets across India and South Asia. Currently, he's busy transforming the digital TV and video entertainment space through technology and digital touchpoints. Prior to joining Dish TV, he worked with Samsung Electronics India in the capacity of director marketing, consumer electronics business. Great, welcome everyone.
Yeah. Hi.
So let's start with my. Yes, I'll start with my first question, right? Which is, actually, I'm going to start with you, right? Which is, what did you learn about yourself during the quarantine period, right? And actually, before Achin, I'll quickly share what I learned, while that gives you a minute to think over, which is, I learned some life-saving cooking skills during the quarantine period. I can now boil water to the perfect temperature. I can make papad in a microwave, and I can peel a cucumber, right? So that's what I learned. Achint, what about you?
Actually, I learned to unlearn a lot of things. That's what I would say. You know, I thought I was good at a bunch of things, but it came out to be that I was horrible, especially as the household at the household chores, a lot of them. And spending quality time with family is something I really learned doing. During this period, in a nice way. When you're locked down for many months, it's the best way to figure out the right balance. And then learned a lot about my own teams, right? How people are able to pull out of adversity when you don't expect them to. What I would say, knowing myself personally and people around me.
Super, thank you for that. Darshana, what about you?
Yeah, I think these are interesting times. So, working from home, I mean, learned how to work from home, how to work at home, know how to, I mean, do everything at home and with all of us together. I don't think, uh, from my college time onwards, I have been home like this. And the other thing I really learned is because pre-COVID, we used to always say that, I want to work from home. I don't want to come to office. I don't want to travel in Bombay. And God, I hate it. I hate this work from home. I'd rather be in office. Now going
Yeah.
to
So we
office is
want to
exciting.
people want to
So
get back.
yeah, I mean, we do go. We've started going, twice a week, and I so love it because you miss people. I'm such a social animal. I miss my whiteboard. I miss, ideating like that. This full time to Teams and Zoom and all. No, so I think that's one thing I realized that working in office is so much better. This work from home, I don't want anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Sukhpreet, what about you?
Yeah, I think I also learned that I could actually stay at home for long periods of time. So I don't think even in college I did that. So I was mostly out of home. So that's one. I think secondly, I learned that I could actually get along with a teenager. Okay, so I have this 15-year-old daughter, and I think it's been a great opportunity really to seriously get to know to know her very to know her better. So I think that way it has turned out to be brilliant. But yes, I do want to get back. Started doing that carefully and once or twice a week. So we kind of testing it out, but still want to get back fully to being with people and being in office. And Vishal, I can beat you to the papad making in the microwave.
We will have a challenging round someday.
Will do, yeah.
So thank you for that. That was fun and inspiring to hear. With that, let's jump right into our topic for the panel discussion with one ground rule, which is for the benefit of the webinar audience and to give each panelist equal airtime, answers have to be limited to about 90 seconds. Yeah, super. Now, the corona pandemic has had a lot of dark sides, right? And for everyone, whether impacted directly or indirectly, COVID-19 is a huge stressor, shaking up our psyche, triggering our fears and uncertainties. No matter how serious this is and how much business uncertainty exists, this has also created some new opportunities. So, Darshana, I have a burning question for you, which is how have marketing spends and budget allocation changed from pre-corona to during the lockdown and then after the lockdown ended?
So yeah, well, interest because pre-corona, of course, and so this whole lockdown has happened during the peak months for insurance, which is Jan, Feb, March, and in that Feb, March are very high for us. So imagine an industry coming to a pause when in your highest month, which is March. So definitely, so obviously the spends are also on a pause. And we had to re-strategize because we had planned all our budget. April is when the new year starts, so everything was decided obviously in a pre-COVID way. So suddenly digital became for everybody the most important area. So the monies from a lot of below the line spends, a lot of printing, a lot of activations, because this insurance as an industry works with a lot of intermediaries. So I have a lot of channel partners. So from bank to my own proprietary channel to many, employer, many different channels. So we do a lot of activations at their space. We do a lot of printing and all of that. So everything stopped. So what really changed was everything had to become digital for us. The spends have converted into more digital spends, not just digital marketing, but digital activations, digital collateral, digital hubs. So everything around digital is where we are spending now, and that's a big change. And digitization is another big investment. So how do we digitize for the business, for the customers? Because that's the customer behavior. Everything is becoming contactless. So that's where the entire spends have shifted. Of course, there is a cut down in some amount of budget, but having said that, it's all shifted to the digital side of life. So that's a change I've seen. And it continues, it still continues. See, the interesting thing is everybody has learned how to live without printing and having that brochure in the hand and, things in the hand. So that's where even our intermediaries, our partners are learning. So that's a change.
Got it. Achin, what about you? How have spends and budgets changed at Myntra?
Hey, hi. Can you hear me, Nishad?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I was having some issues unmuting this. We also went through a very interesting phase as e-commerce. Most of you would know that, right? There was a period in the beginning when everybody was just grappling with truth as to what has happened suddenly, and the business was shut, right? You couldn't just deliver even a single packet. Marketing spends actually was cut down significantly. In fact, we made it down to zero, but reinvested some of the spends behind driving engagement on the platform. There was still a lot of users who were coming to Myntra to browse stuff. Fashion is a very heavy browsing category, and exploration category, what we call as window shopping. So we gave them a lot of content, a lot of learning and engagement materials from entertainment to self-care. That people find it meaningful in whatever way possible. And then spend started to grow, as country came out of lockdown slowly. So initially it was all about, to start with, meeting the necessities, the very, very initial spending that started with a lot of focus in investments on safety, and making sure that people feel that, the deliveries are safe and the entire supply chain is geared towards that. And then we had our, very big fashion sale in June when people went back with revenge shopping. So that gave us the opportunity to spend more marketing monies and create awareness about fashion in especially smaller tier 2, tier 3 markets who, as Darshana said, right, a lot of people shifted towards online or were forced to shift towards online because offline stores were shut. So a lot of awareness building happened there, and that took a fair bit of investments at that point in time. And then since then, I think investments have grown well for us. It's grown in it's been a pretty healthy run, fortunately for us, with seeing growth from a lot of smaller markets. People who have never come to commerce have now started to, adopt fashion commerce. And, that's how it has been, right? So I can talk more about it on specifics going forward, but sticking to your, short period that you have given us as a mandate.
Thank you for respecting that. Supreet, what about you? How have your budgets and allocations changed?
Of course, if you are in a position to do allocations right now, that means you have budget. So that's a good thing to start with anyway. So we are in the traditional TV business as well as the upcoming OTT business. So if you look at, the logical way for us is, of course, TV and digital. That has been, what we have been doing. And through this pandemic, these two spaces have also kind of so TV has consolidated, digital has really grown a lot. I hear digital probably overtake TV spends as far as advertising is concerned in probably the next few months. I think the latest KPMG report. So I think print, OH, cinema, and obviously these have really taken a hit. So we were already on TV and digital. So we remain so. However, the skew in favor of digital changes. One, because we are getting more and more into that space, and secondly, because it has grown, and that's where the consumer is spending a lot of their time. So I think that's what the change has been. But to sum it up, I think the whole thing earlier of a 360-degree plan and surround, I think that really has gone. Now you can't really surround the customer with all kinds of media. I think it's better to just meet the customer head on. Don't surround. So 360-degree probably turns into a 0-degree. Okay, so I think that's the case. And in our case, we also use a lot of own media. So if you have a Dish TV or a D2H connection or a Watcho app, then we can reach out to our own subscribers. So let's say if you reach out to around 20 million households, we can reach them out with our own media also. So that is, that is a blessing, because we don't have to spend on that. But of course, there are other opportunity costs to kind of using that. So that's what it has been for us.
Great, thank you for that. So now, coincidentally, of all three CMOs that we have on the panel, you have, compared to retail-heavy traditional businesses, you've had the advantage of having established online sales and service channels. While for some of these traditional businesses, getting online was their biggest achievement, what would you say was yours during the pandemic? And let me start with Achin. Achint, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was just, it's taking a little bit of a time to unmute it. Was the question around the biggest?
Right. So how retail heavy businesses, for them, the biggest achievement was getting online. Right? That was their biggest
Yeah.
achievement. But you've had the benefit of already having, or rather, your digital heavy, digitally stronger business. So what has been your biggest achievement during the pandemic?
Yeah, I think, see, it's a, as I started with saying, right, it's been a fantastic learning experience, I would say, right? Understanding how humans react when they are put under severe adversity, right? So, this period has been a period of many, many years compressed into, 6 months, if you ask me, right? Where you are put into a very, extreme situation, and you are just trying to figure out what has happened. And at that point, your communication as a brand manager or as an organization, as a brand, is very different. It is to help you come out of it more than, or realize what's around and what's the positive stuff around still, despite all the negative news flowing around, to a state where people have started used to it as being a status quo. People have accepted that this will be there for some time, and we have to go about our businesses and our lives, right? And in that situation, while you are with all your constraints, how do you enable people? How do you give them a larger purpose? And that's been a bigger challenge for us, right? One, to grow across the country and onboard a lot of shoppers who have never been on fashion commerce. Perspective. And second, what we started in September recently, with our brand campaign, is elevate the role of the brand to say we are not just for selling merchandise, but fashion has a larger role to play, in a consumer's life, whether it is enablement by giving you confidence or by making your life's precious moments, special. Fashion will always have something interesting to play, and people are having a lot of interesting moments which they may not have had in the past. So that is, I think, the biggest, or been the biggest learning and challenge for us, to figure out things in an agile manner, respond to it, unlearn, learn, again, change strategies, and sort of move forward.
Interesting. Supreet, what about you?
Yeah. So I think first, Achint, I really like the new campaign that you had, and you mentioned that. So I think that's really something which puts the platform apart from, let's say, the other e-com platforms in terms of being a fashion advisory that way. I think I really liked it. So coming to the question, I think the way you're right. Some of the traditional businesses, the biggest thing was that business had to be moved online, and if you managed to do that was the big thing. In our case, we were our mainline business is a prepaid recharge business, so much of it was already online. However, the pandemic, it made sure that most of it is online now. Okay, so that's a good thing which happened, but we were already ready for it, because let's say most of it was already was already online. But I think the big achievement in our case was shifting customer service to online modes. Traditionally, in our case, customer service is either people, and it's an entrenched behavior, people calling up, pick up the phone and call the, or in case of, we are a very mass brand, so, or people rushing to a retailer in the market, say this is wrong with my dish TV, or I need to change my pack, or so I need a new channel. And so a lot of this used to, and then of course there is field service. Something goes wrong with your hardware, and an engineer has to physically come and fix it. I think what the big achievement really was that we managed to get customer service, including a lot of troubleshooting of, which required field service, onto online modes, people doing self-help on our app through various other modes, and also some of the innovations, like for example, on TV. So you could do a lot of troubleshooting using your remote on the TV. So you don't even need to call or have an app on your smartphone. So I think, looking at the entire spectrum of our customers, we managed to make sure that they help themselves, and in fact, it's a speedier customer service as compared to a physically calling up or going to a retailer. So I think that was for us, one of the big things that we managed to do in the pandemic.
Interesting. Darshan, how about you?
Yeah, so for us also, I mean, taking from both of them. So we also, like I said, in the peak month, you suddenly had to pause, and our business is phygital. So whilst we will have all the digital onboarding, but the all our intermediaries, so all the advisors and agents and relationship managers are all face-to-face selling products. So all this while and all these years, that is what they're used to, and suddenly now you cannot meet, you cannot engage. So whilst you had the digital app to onboard and all of that, but you still were meeting people. So that became a big, suddenly overnight we had to change the way of selling, the way of, meeting customers, the way of pitching the product. So and obviously, so we had to create an entire digital platform. People had to meet virtual, change, so do a lot of training. So invest when we also got our entire servicing online very fast. We were already there, but we also added more stuff. So you could now go through WhatsApp, you could download the app, you go on the customer portal, you could go on the chatbot. So we almost became an omni-channel platform during these times, and got a huge amount of training, because when you have 25-30,000 field force, and to get all of them digital who were otherwise phygital, so that kind of training, that kind of time, that kind of and rallying the entire organization, that was big for us. And of course, at the end of it, fortunately, so doing all of that, the biggest achievement for us that we were not degrowing. We were actually growing month on month in higher double digits. So that's obviously a big achievement during these times. A lot of learnings, a lot of unlearning, like what Achint mentioned. We had to rediscover the way of doing. Almost reimagining your business is what we had to do. So that's what I think is our biggest achievement.
Interesting. So the three of you have done so many different things over the last years, of course, respect to how your business has witnessed the change or has been impacted. So now I have a slightly a longest question for each of the panelists, right? Which is now, again, for many brands, again, internally, I'm not sure what happened for you, but many organizations experienced, vicious cycle, which is uh, the pandemic dropped sales. That may have not been true for some of you, like maybe for insurance, that may not have been true, but the pandemic dropped sales for many, which resulted in lower revenue. In some cases, resulted in layoffs and hiring freeze. Now, many of us had fewer resources and mounting pressure, and we still had to continue building the brand. So now, in such a scenario where, again, digital, which seems to have been the biggest driver as of that for all of you, now, how did you really personalize the experience for millions of your consumers while still continuing to build a coherent brand identity? So, Sukhpreet, if I can start with you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so absolutely right. I think first thing is, of course, when this what you call a vicious cycle and there was sales drop and all. Fortunately, in our case, TV viewership gained during lockdown, and also the OTT and video streaming also, kind of gained during the lockdown. People watched a lot of, videos and entertainment, and of course, while you were locked down, that was one thing which, kept you connected with the world apart from being entertained. So right, so while uh, I think the very fundamental thing, while your question is definitely on that, while keeping the umbrella brand, messaging intact, how do we really personalize messaging? So I think, we first thing that we did in that was that, like I said, we have millions of subscribers who, touch base with us every day. Now, when you do that, you have an opportunity of millions of conversations every day. Now, all those conversations have, to keep them centered around the fact that what is the brand promise? So the brand promise is uninterrupted entertainment. Of course, we widened it to uninterrupted education and self-help also. But if we keep it centered around these main themes, then each one of these conversations, while they are hinged and pivoted on that, but they would use various tools. So each one of our touch points, whether it's the app or the website or even the on TV or the call center, the idea is that can we do a 360-degree customer profiling so that a customer who's had let's say who's somebody who wanted to do some troubleshooting using our fairly chatbot on the website, but if he fails and the session is not successful, then all the other touch points automatically are updated on what happened with the customer. So if the customer then calls up a call center or even if goes to a retailer, in a tier 3 town, instantly the retailer portal also shows what this customer has gone through and what the issue is, and the necessary waivers or any special offers, they're all put in place. Now that sounds rather beautiful, okay, but it's very, very difficult to pull off. So we are not even, I would say, halfway through. We've done a lot of things. So all our touch points, whether like Darshana said, phygital. So whether it's a retail point or a call center or an app, everything is connected now. So whether you're a prospective customer or an existing customer, we are, having a lot of understanding of where you're coming from and what you want, and there are predictive tools in place to predict whether you would be a prospective churn, customer prone to churn, okay, a churn probable customer. So I think putting together, while historically also most service businesses would have these data points in place, but when they talk to each other and come together to a point where a customer says, oh wow, how did you know that? How did Dish TV know that I wanted this, or I was angry about this, and what I really what will make me happier, or not churn to a competitor. I think to come to that point with all these diverse data points and such a I wouldn't even, it's not even big data, it's like huge data. Okay, so I think we're not even halfway there, but that's how we're trying to make sure that we personalize the journey of each customer and the experience of each customer and the story that we tell at each conversation, but at the same time stay hinged on our basic brand promise of uninterrupted entertainment.
Thank you for that. Darshana, how was it different, if at all, in insurance? Did you have the need to personalize, or was it now because it's COVID-19, people were rushing to buy insurance? So did you have to send a coherent message, or did you still have the need to personalize?
So say so let me first tell the difference what we do at Aditya Birla Health Insurance, because insurance as a category is a buy and forget category, because as a consumer you don't want to really buy and then be hospitalized, you don't want to use it. So when we started our business, and though that's how our brand has been positioned, we want to be buy and engage, and that's our entire promise. So our focus is on health first and health insurance. So that's the reason we focus a lot on our customers' health. And even when we were during the lockdown in April, so we had this whole property called Jump for Health, which we do every year on World Health Day. And this we suddenly realized that this year we couldn't have done that. So immediately and what we were hearing from customers were a lot of anxiety, stress. What can I do around my health and immunity? A lot of that had suddenly happened, and I'm at home. I can't do anything. So a lot of fear, anxiety, stress had started coming in because a lot of fear of unknown. So immediately on World Health Day, we had launched this entire campaign called Health from Home. So content is what we built a lot of content on your physical fitness. So we had a lot of influencers coming, daily Facebook Live series, physical fitness, nutritional fitness, mental wellness, doctors talking to, various, for kids, for senior citizens, for pregnant women. So for 4 months, every day, Monday to Saturday, we were creating content and getting in people, because today people didn't want to hear health insurance. They didn't want to hear a product push. They wanted a partner. They wanted somebody who can empathize with what they're going through. And that's what we started with. So we became a brand who, because of our health management, entire health and wellness ecosystem is what we have in our entire product suite and entire platform that we have. So started from health, but created that sort of a partnership with the customer, got them into our in our environment, and then started personalizing. So now that I know you, I know who you are, I know what your health behavior, what your health intent is. So that's when we start personalizing and then start personalized conversation on our engagement journey. So yes, we do a lot of that. We bring them through a health funnel. We start engaging with them with the insight. So I give you something called as your well-being score, and then we start engaging with you. We give you your, so I have different tools for personalization, and that's how we
So that
start
was going to be my
targeting.
follow-up question. Are you able to talk a little more about what kind of tools did you use to achieve personalization? Because I know many people say that, hey, we want to personalize, but when it comes to implementation, many of them struggle. So is there something you are able to share what the audience can learn and what kind of tools are available, or did you build something on your own? If you can talk a little about that.
No, so we do have something. So when you down, so obviously we have to bring customers to our environment, and from there, of course, always your remarketing and retargeting is one area where you start learning more on the behavior. After that, we have certain tools in our app. So where we are talking about where we give you your well-being score. So where I know a whole lot more about you. So that's one area. We've called something as active age as another tool, which is again a proprietary, which tells you about your body age versus your health. So again, that takes you into the personalization journey. We are very soon launching an active mind as a tool, which tells you about how much stressed you are. Whether you have anxiety, stress, it tells you high, moderate, low, and it takes you into entire, counseling. So on the background, like I said, I have a huge health and wellness ecosystem. So we have mental wellness, we have nutritional wellness, we also have doctor on call. We're building entire telemedicine. So a lot of entire health management is where we have our platform. So when a customer comes, we have some of these proprietary tools. Over and above, we obviously have the standard martech tools, all the marketing automation tools, which helps me to understand the customer better, automate, personalize content, personalize emailers. So those kind of obviously the ecosystem is what we have. But that's where more and more on your health and your health behavior is where we engage more with the customer. And these are the tools we've been using. Some of them created, some of them curated. But to me, what has changed for me is a lot of content that we are giving out to customer to drive engagement.
Okay. Achan, what about you? How has storytelling been personalized at Myntra?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It's still showing you're muted. Can you hear me still? Okay. Okay. Something is wrong here, but that's okay. So I think Sukpreet and Darshan both have laid out very clearly, and these are things I think most of the digital companies are now deploying in their own unique proprietary ways. So I would level that we are also deploying. We are also a data first company, so we have the privilege of a lot of customer data. So these things, customer behaviors and their purchase patterns, so these things become natural. But we did something else also which we hadn't got time to do, if the pandemic had not struck us. So three aspects of any personalization: there is customer, there is context, and then there is communication. A lot of times, I think we spend time understanding the customer from the behaviors that they show, on the platform. This was a time when we actually spent a lot of effort in understanding the customer behavior of the app, on what they are doing outside Myntra, how they are thinking, feeling, how they are sort of shaping their perspectives about lives. And if we have to look something of this sort for a longer term, because we never knew when this was supposed to end, right, and how long the implications of this could be, really value the platform for, or the brand for, right? So that's one big investment, to understand at a cohort level between, let's say, a tier 3 market and a metro market, or a male or a female gender, or for that matter, a heavily intense fashion shopper to a very very light touch or a non-shopper, right? What is the overall proposition for them when it comes to fashion, in their lives? So we spend time understanding that. Then I think spend a lot of time on the communication piece, because context was largely similar for everybody, right? So communication is where we spend a lot of time on 2 3 areas. One, at a respective market level, for the first time, at least in Myntra's history at scale, we were able to activate a lot of regional influencers and regional celebs. to drive consistent communication with consumers than one-off influencer campaigns, which we used to market, for the West market, for the Hindi-speaking market at large, for the digital audiences. We got Bhuvan Bam recently. And then, from a creative standpoint, I think when you look at digital marketing and performance marketing, you have the advantage and the opportunity to sort of cut down every campaign into multiple cohorts. So it was easier before the COVID world to have, let's say, 4 or 5 cohorts and run campaigns. I think that went to become, 10, 20 cohorts at times, right? And that was important because people were at different stages of their I would say reviving back. So some metros are still far behind. Some tier 3 markets have gone ahead, right? Some customers who are heavy offline shoppers, they need a very different messaging versus people who are normally used to shopping. For them, it's all about, okay, what is just take care of the safety, everything else I'll take care of myself, right? Creating static creatives and different formats, and rolling out campaigns which had 50 to 70 creatives in every campaign, equally sort of spread across. I think that was the biggest difference in the way we approached personalization this time. And of course, this is all off the app. On the app, it's very similar to what Sukrit and Darshana spoke about.
Correct. So, on that note, let's spend a little more time understanding target audience movements and our reaction as marketers. So, Achan, the follow-up question to what you said earlier, right? Which is, now you being an e-commerce store, you're seeing, as you shared, seeing a lot of action from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So, how did your brand narrative change there compared to tier 1? Like, was it different influencers? Was it different brand ambassadors? And how did you control that messaging? Was it purely on digital when you advertise? So if you can talk a little bit about that.
For the fashion forward consumer of the country, now they could be in any part of the country. It doesn't matter, whether they are in metros or tier 2 or tier 3, because we've seen even in the smallest towns, there is very strong aspiration to be fashion forward, right? And I think that is something we had not tapped on very explicitly in the past. From doing campaigns which were very, very fashion first in terms of showing the glamour and the beauty of being fashionable, the shift that we made was making fashion as a tool for doing something or achieving something in life and achieving your aspiration, right? And that sort of, when we tested it out with consumers, and now how we are seeing it also in the brand campaign play out, it resonates with people at scale. It doesn't matter where you are, and your journey of enablement, your journey of, if you're a very fashion proficient customer, your next thing would be to probably use fashion to really, really stand out for yourself, right, in wherever you go. But when you are early into your fashion journey, it could just be to feel part of the group, right, so that you don't stand out. It's the other way around, right? And I think when people start thinking that, one, fashion is important for me to position myself, and second, Myntra provides me the right tools which help me educate, learn, and then also access, right, what I need to do. That, I think, is the story that we moved towards, which was very, very accepted by the tier 3 audiences. And I think metros anyways had been on that for some time. So yeah, that was the answer to your question. Sure.
Interesting. Darshana, what about insurance? How did your target audience, if at all, did it shift in the age group that you were targeting? Is it more younger people were now inclined towards insurance? Was there any change that you experienced from an age group perspective?
Yeah, there is. In fact, because of your question, I went and further deep dive and check. So yes, today I do see the millennial also changing. The millennial behavior, that who always were looking out for experiences and didn't want to buy things, and including they would never, fatalistic. So nothing will happen to my health and don't want to be covered. Today there is a lot of fear and anxiety in that age group also, because obviously the jobs are not there and you don't want to go and depend on your parents. So we've in our 30 below 30 portfolio, we've seen some 5 to 7% increase in that, which is very good news, because otherwise it would take a lot for them to buy. They would cover their parents and things like that. So that's one thing. Overall, we have a young age. So overall, in the health insurance category, and there also we are seeing the age reducing. So we were at around 37 earlier. It has become 36. My overall insurance portfolio age. So yes, I am seeing younger ones, coming in, adopting. We are seeing more younger people. Nuclear families, a lot of that is suddenly coming in. Like I was telling you when before the event started that, for a health insurance category, which has always been a push category for a marketeer like me and who's come from retail, this has been the exciting phase of learning and also seeing the category become pull. Because today people are waking up and they are thinking that am I adequately covered and do I have a right health insurance, and they are coming up and buying proactively, which was not happening before. So yes, I do see a lot of change. I see millennials coming in the portfolio.
Interesting. So now we have about 10 minutes or so left in this session. So let's talk about what to expect moving ahead, some advice and recommendations on your end. Let me start with Sukpreet. Now, Sukpreet, you shared with us you have a large existing base whom you can reach out to, right? Which is every time when someone switches on the TV, which is daily, you have an opportunity to push a message. How do you resist the urge to over communicate, or what message to give them?
Okay. Yeah, I think you touched on raw nerve there, Charles. So yeah, so the idea is not just to push a message. Now the fact is that because every time somebody switches on the TV and you have an option to display something, you could easily monetize that also, right? It's like a captive audience every day switching on the TV, and that's the first thing they see. So I think that's the test of your customer centricity, so to say. So while you might have customer centricity on all the walls of your office, but when it comes to actually taking a call on these things, I think that's where I think then the belief really has to come in, that and I really believe that if a message is relevant to the customer and helps her in any way, they will not be so resistant to getting that message on their TV, even if they switch it on every day and they get and they see that. So the idea is that we if we use that space for messaging, we make it relevant. Even if it is an advertisement, it has to be relevant to the customer. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Now, just as an example, I think during the pandemic, we stopped selling and used all of that inventory to educate subscribers on how to ensure that their TV connection is uninterrupted, how to recharge through online modes if they were already not doing that, how to do self-help, and I think that we could see that we could see the difference that made in terms of our CSAT, and of course, the savings that you get in terms of customers being staying longer on your platform, increasing usage, or the CSAT is greater than the monetization. It's difficult to always quantify and prove it, but I think end of the day, we all succumb to the temptations of monetizing, all such mediums. But I think the pandemic really taught us that the value of putting the customer at the center again. So I think it worked out that way pretty well, and we are happy that we did that.
Got it. Okay, so I have two more questions before we close the session for each of the panelists. So, what, and again, in 60 seconds or less, Achin, what would you say is one consumer behavior or attribute that has changed, which is here to stay, or in other words, has long-term implications for marketing?
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple. Actually, I'm choosing the one to say. So I can talk about my business. I think brands should come across as being helpful and useful in my life versus trying to push things to me. I think that has become very, very clear. and expected from consumers now, as we see, and that is here to stay.
Darshana, what about you?
So I think one behavior clearly is the whole digital behavior. The consumer today adapting to, shopping, whether online, digitally, buying their groceries, buying their insurance, and servicing their insurance. So consumer, also my, the entire intermediaries, our partners, everybody. I think that is one behavior. No, I mean, we wouldn't have thought that something like this could have changed. So it has changed and it is out there to stay for longer. So the whole digital adoption and adaptability to that is out there to stay.
Yeah, I can fully endorse
Supreet?
that. Seeing my kids actually how they have taken on online classes, right? I couldn't have imagined this kind of world, right? And especially
Yeah.
teachers, right? I mean, how fast people have adapted to this new mode. It's quite amazing, actually. We don't know what is the implication of this, but it's going to be very different from what we can imagine right now.
Yeah, suddenly
So,
data and Wi-Fi is very important. So Supreet, and entertainment, it's very important. Supreet, your category.
Yeah,
Look at OTT today, overnight.
that's true. But I also think, that to answer the question, I also, and it manifests itself in various things. I think fundamentally, I think the big shift is that people are finally, whether subconsciously or something, shifting their preferences to good experiences versus things, you know so I think the pandemic really in the mindset, I think that's very relevant to insurance or whether entertainment or even whether it is fashion. I think it's a good experience, and I'm not talking about customer experience here. They just want, the willingness to pay for experiences, willingness to actually make sure that their back is covered so that they can have good experiences, like in the case of insurance. I think that's a very fundamental change, and part of the things that we see in terms, whether it's a digital shift, whether it's the categories which are growing versus not growing, and then in the future, the categories in the next 2-3 years which will grow more than the others, I think will be experience-led categories and not so much about stuff. I think this pandemic has made people think a little bit more about what they're doing with their lives, whether they're accumulating more stuff or more experiences. I think that's a fundamental thing which has changed.
absolutely agree with that. Now, for my last question, and in less than 30 seconds, um, your marketing nugget for better personalized storytelling, your advice for our audience that ranges from students to brand managers to CXOs moving forward. Tashna, let's start with you.
So one mantra which, and I'm actively doing this in my own team, that the whole digital mindset, because digital is not about digital marketing, digital is not about digitization, digital is a mindset today. And if you are the brand manager, if you are, students, it's very important that we understand what that mindset means. That mindset means agility. That mindsets trying new things faster, creating experience. So digital mindset to me today is very important, because that's where you will have to change and learn and unlearn fast, because we've seen how the digital world keeps changing all the time. So learning, unlearning, so that's the mindset which is very important. And yeah, apart from that, be optimistic, don't give up. A lot of things are happening. Yeah.
Achint, your 30 seconds. Your
Uh,
advice.
yeah, a couple of things. One, start everything with the customer rather than your business. And second, nothing is here to stay, right? So be very clear and be ready to adapt, if things don't go your way. And it's possible now in today's world.
Supreet.
Yeah, I would just say that, so when you're trying to do, storytelling in a personalized way, please tell a story. Don't try to sell a dream. Okay, so if your story which can turn into a real experience for the customer, and the story is based on insights which is relevant for each customer, I think it will get personalized anyway. So I think sticking to the basics is something that I would advocate. So I think that's what works.
Wow, that was super insightful. With that, let me conclude by sharing my learnings, which is so advertising is the easiest to cut down during an adversity, right? But as these brands have shared today, it's important to adopt advertising strategies with the right storytelling. As marketers, we have to communicate smarter to build trust in the brand. We have to learn, unlearn things, and nothing will stay constant, right? So, life and business, as we know, have dramatically changed in a very short amount of time. So, it's going to take some creativity, some ingenuity, and a willingness to change for all of us to continue thriving. Thank you to all three panelists for sharing their stories with us, and thanks again to CII for having us involved.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, everybody.
So much. Good evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.